Hi everyone, my name is Markus Meixner, founder and CEO of ViewAR. Today I will talk about why to use INDOAR and why to use the ViewAR system to create AR navigation systems. As a brief overview on the agenda, we will give you some details about ViewAR, about the INDOAR system in general, about the setup of a location, about testing your application, about the features, about how it works in general, and talking about some USPs and the business model. A few facts about ViewAR. We're in the field of AR and VR since 10 years meanwhile. We're headquartered in Austria, Vienna, a team of 24 people, and we've won several awards in several categories. We have clients from all continents and several industries and several verticals that we're working in. ViewAR is offering an AR ecosystem that provides a complete infrastructure to create, manage, and publish AR applications. We do this in the fields of indoor navigation, of workflows, remote assistance, and product visualization. To give you a brief overview of INDOAR, it's an AR navigation system that comes with a variety of features, as in navigation, tours, and providing the ability to place virtual content, and mainly targeting scenarios for education and entertainment, but also industrial applications can be accomplished with this solution. In order to set up a system, all you need to do is create a 3D scan. We provide 3 categories of the visualization, as in low, medium, and high accuracy. For low accuracy and low detail, you can use Apple LiDAR devices like the iPhone Pro and the iPad Pro. For medium accuracy, you can use Matterport, and for high accuracy, you can use Navis or Leica as a scanning input. You can then use our web portal to import the scan, as in providing the URL or uploading E57 files. Once you have uploaded your scan, you will be able to add and edit content on the web portal, as in placing points of interest and editing the content for points of interest. In order to test your application, you can use the ViewAR app, which is available on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Just type in your app ID and the application will transform into whatever you're currently creating, having your branding and your content. This eliminates the need of any development environment and any development skills to test and run your application. I will now go over a few features that the INDOAR system provides in order to elaborate those in detail. We utilize digital twins and the panorama images for the localization. So the system compares the 3D scans with the live stream of the camera of the device in order to determine a user's position. And from there, we can deploy several use cases, like AR navigation, as in navigating to a single point of interest, but also tours, as in navigating through a sequence of points of interest. The INDOAR system is able to determine pathfinding and navigation based on the geometry of the 3D scans. So we look for walkable areas and then calculate the shortest paths using those walkable areas. This information can be edited and extended with so-called passageways and barriers. Passageways will allow you to walk through areas where geometry would actually be blocking those areas, like closed doors in scans, and barriers will block navigation through areas that were not recognized by the scanner, or where you don't want to allow navigation, as in, for example, through glass doors and glass windows and so on. POIs contain several types of content, as in descriptions, images, videos, live data, instructions, so-called foreign keys, which are IDs in foreign systems. And you can also override this content with an iframe URL. We also provide the ability for so-called deep links. This lets you generate links that will trigger a navigation on the specific location to the specific point of interest. So once a user either scans a QR code or clicks on a link in an email, it will load the location recognition pattern and it will trigger a navigation to the desired and defined point of interest. You can either use the ID that is generated through the system by default, or you can define a so-called foreign key, which is then an ID usually coming from another system. So if you're having like an SAP integration and you're having an air condition with ID 418, you can define the foreign key 418 for the air condition in the 3D map. And this will let you generate those links in external systems, being able to offer those links that will then start the ViewAR app and the specific navigation to a point of interest. So this will ease up integrations. We also support the feature of IoT and live data. We have the ability to basically add a URL from where to retrieve data for a specific point of interest, which can be 3 types, as in parameter list or percentage bar, or even an HTML code. This sample shows a parameter list. It can contain multiple labels with values and a status for color indications. And you can define a URL for each point of interest of where to query the live data for this point of interest, and it will be automatically anchored to this point of interest. You can either define a URL that is utilized for multiple points of interest that has a first node in the hierarchy, or you define URLs for each specific point of interest, depending on how you want to group the queries and how you want to optimize this. Another feature that we provide is called AR tagging using OCR. So basically, we use the spatial awareness of knowing where the phone is and where we're looking at in order to combine it with text detection in the camera image. You can also define filters that allow you to only look for specific text in the camera image. So you imagine you would be only looking for a string that starts with hash. You can define a filter with hash and then asterisk for any character to look for strings in this format. You can even define so-called regular expressions, which are complex rule sets for detecting strings and matching strings. In order to support larger locations and basically an unlimited location size, we have the feature of combining multiple scans into one map. This feature lets you import additional scans to your map and align them in order to generate navigation and AR scenarios across multiple scans. We also have the feature of so-called workflows. Workflows consist of multiple step-by-step instructions that can contain text and images and checklists and forms, videos, and also highlight points of interest. So they can give you spatial indications and the instruction to do something on those spots. And by this, you can implement maintenance procedures or other processes in a very efficient way. We also offer the ability for a VR browser experience. So basically, the whole feature set of the INDOAR capabilities can be deployed in the browser for onboarding and training purposes, but also for testing and development. We also support the capability of so-called scene models, as in placing virtual items in the environment that perfectly sit in place every time you load your app, you initialize, and you walk through such locations. Live position reporting lets you log and visualize positions of users while they're on site. So you define an admin add point for a retrieving the positions, and a user endpoint to where the user app will send the data. Obviously, you'll have to comply with GDPR and other data saving restrictions if you're using this feature for users. Usually we host applications in our cloud infrastructure, but we also have the capability to host applications on-premise to have your data saved in your cloud infrastructure. For this, we would require a Linux Debian server and set up some Debian installer scripts that will set up a complete ViewAR backend in your infrastructure. And the application will then directly and only communicate with your backend infrastructure. For low and medium customization, we offer our web portal where you can change the styling of the application and branding of the application. And for high customization, we offer the ViewAR SDK, providing you the ability to customize the application user flow and application UI completely to your needs, and also to do any kinds of integrations you want to have. In terms of integrations, we offer a few possibilities. The most simple one is using deep links. So basically you would generate links with or QR codes with specific POIs or tours. The second approach would be a so-called launch config. This would trigger scenarios like workflows and other applications, remote assistance and so on, with certain parameters that you provide in your data syntax. So you start ViewAR with a URL of where to retrieve the launch config. The app will then download the launch config and configure itself accordingly. We also offer a native library, so you can integrate ViewAR and INDOAR into existing apps using our native library. And we offer the capability for REST hooks. So you can define REST URLs for POI updates, for workflow reports, and also server-based POI search. In terms of settings, you can choose between different navigation types, as in a solid line, a dotted line, arrows, and the virtual avatar. We also have a few more settings, as in defining the OCR filter, activating password protection, setting POI visibilities, and occlusion settings. To briefly address the topic of business model and pricing, we're charging INDOAR per square feet. We're charging service AR, as in the workflows and navigation and live data and so on, per square meters and also per amount of workflows. And help hour, for example, the remote assistance solution is charged per calls. Also, the pricing will contain setup costs for white labeling the application and also an additional license fee for source code access. I hope this gave you a good overview of the INDOAR system, and we're looking forward to hearing from you and address your AR topics together. Thanks.